we're live once again. This is Michael Finicaro once again at ProveIt. We had a little bit of battery problems for the second time, but we're all very good-spirited. And in fact, we have the privilege of having Kevin from Inductive Automation that's joining us. He's only here for about the next 15 minutes. We'll see what we can get through. So I already got answers from these guys, but your favorite, well, you just came, so you haven't seen the other presentations, so we can skip that one. Well, introduce yourself and then tell us about your bullishness or skepticism during the open AI moment, the ChatGPT moment.
So Kevin McCluskey, Chief Technology Architect from Inductive Automation. And my AI moment, if you want to think of it that way, it was interesting. When it first came about, I think like a lot of people, I was very skeptical, thinking, is this going to be something that actually makes much of a difference? Is this going to be something that has an impact? I've seen pictures of Will Smith with spaghetti, and I don't know if I could trust this. But I think it was about 6 months ago when we ended up seeing some real impact from different things that were happening at different customers. We have somebody inside oil and gas who was having AI read these dyno cards, these downhole dynamometer cards that give you information about these pump jacks. And if you're in the industry, you know that the way that it graphs the pressures over distances there matter a lot in terms of interpreting what's actually happening behind the scenes, if things need maintenance, if wells wearing out, what the best rest period might be for shutting it down, bringing it back up, if there's a problem with the casing. And it did a better job, AI did a better job of analyzing this than some of the software that had been around for 20 years. It was just amazing. And so they were putting together a solution inside Ignition, and they were just feeding this in and getting this back. And like, this is real. This is here. This is now. And since then, we've done a lot with it as a company too. But that was probably my moment.
How have the developers at Thred been using AI? Is it is it Claude Code? Is it a Copilot? Is it everybody or only some group? Is there two camps? I just interviewed someone who actually had two camps. You still had people that refused to use AI.
Really? Yeah, no, we all use it in different ways. Before we were cut off, the AI moment for us was game changing because we really leaned into knowledge graphs and as a way to solve that context problem, and we knew conceptually that knowledge graphs were the way forward, but as soon as LLMs came on the scene, we had natural language semantically, and then the only way to thread that language meaning through to raw factory data was a knowledge graph of relationships. So for us, it was the perfect moment. And so we use AI to build our tool. We use a lot of AI to sort of ingest engineering artifacts like PNIDs and PLC drawing to automatically draw the knowledge graph. But we also use it as a call and response because we really believe that context is emergent. You don't know what you don't know until you start to think about your factory. And so that call and response using a large language model was game changing because all of a sudden it could write back into the knowledge graph as we were starting to learn. And yeah, it was like the missing piece in the puzzle for us. So we're very, very lucky. The stars aligned for us. So
did they align for Fuuz as well?
Yeah, for sure. Internally, as I was saying, our engineering team is now, getting more and more evolved with the AI. We're basically a Claude shop. Claude Code. I kind of started with it about a year ago and started building applications in the platform with it. Similar kind of story where we focused on not code. Low, no code, but everything's JSON objects that drives our application. So naturally, LLMs are fantastic with JSON. So it just so happened to work.
Yeah, exactly.
And we've just been so busy with it ever since.
How about it, Inductive?
Yeah, Claude Code is ours as well,
Yeah.
right? So we started a couple of years ago really playing with these things, and then over the last year or so, it's become much more beneficial, right? Where you're not sitting there and you're trying to have the LLM generate something, and then you spend more time debugging than you do in terms of actually cost savings.
Yeah.
I think that has turned the corner in the last year here, and so our whole team is basically enabled to do this as they see use and value in it, and we've encouraged all of them to
Has that
really
replaced
take
entirely the PRD process? I mean, is anybody actually writing PRDs anymore, or that's completely given to the AI?
Oh no. We're good portion of what we're doing is all managed by the engineers. AI is I would see it as AI assisted development as opposed to the AI taking big parts of any piece that the developers.
So they're not going to come to a Scrum meeting anytime soon.
Claude
We haven't
shows
tried
up.
to invite them yet. But
Because they're busy on Notebook anyway.
That's
Yeah.
right.
They
That's
probably say no, turn
Yeah.
the meeting down, declined.
Yeah, and they're such know-it-alls, aren't they?
Bastards.
right. Decline it. It would have a reason there too. I'm too busy for you mortals.
You didn't say thank you on those 3 prompts, so you know what? Take your meeting and because you don't have a lot of time. Let's ask us about the touch points of AI for inductive automation. Like when people are using it,
Yeah.
do they see it right away? Is it the plumbing? Is it sort of everywhere? Where are the touch points in your product?
Sure. So our development team uses it, as we were just talking about.
Yeah.
When it comes to the users of Ignition, right,
Exactly.
our software Ignition, we have a few different ways that people have been using it. So we are in process. We have just actually at the conference, on Friday, right before the conference, released early access for our MCP module. So that's something we're putting in the hands of any engineer. So you can take that, you can load it into your Ignition gateway. You can set up tools and resources and prompts inside there as an engineer, and then you can connect your LLM up to that. So that's our first foray into actually building it into the product. And then we are looking at a future version of Ignition also having basically a built-in Copilot in the designer. So as somebody is designing elements, designing their applications inside Ignition, their screens, their visuals, their HMIs, their enterprise dashboards,
Nice.
that they'd be able to type in, hey, can you help me build this? In the meantime, though, Ignition 8.3 has the ability, it's all driven by files in the file system. And a lot of that's to allow for things like Git integration, right? Orchestration, that type of thing. But it also gives us a really good way to plug into what these agents are able to generate. And so I've personally told Gemini 3 to build me a sales dashboard that I can use for our team at the end of the year last year to help them track some of their progress toward their goals. We've used Claude Code to do similar things to build out full applications that include tags, that include configuration, that include scripts. And it actually does a really good job with that. You've got to give it the context. You've got to give it, have it do its
Guardrails.
homework. Right. And so then as long as you feed it with the right markdown or whatever you're feeding it with beforehand, then it does a really surprisingly good job today with generating full Ignition applications. So
Nice.
I wouldn't take those applications, put them directly into production, but I would certainly, I think we're getting to a point where building out Ignition applications that's going to end up turning into one of the big ways that people do that going into the future.
And how about a thread?
Yeah, look, I think we are also learning the limitations of the large language models. Tomorrow I'll be presenting and I want to describe the factory as a brain, right? So we have our autonomic nervous system, which controls our blood pressure and our breathing, our control systems, right? Our amygdala is like our alarm system, right? We have a prefrontal cortex where humans still make decisions. We have language and reasoning, which is our LLMs, but we still need to have a part where we have associative memories, right? Associative context. And when you don't do that properly and you put a LLM and MCP over raw data and even hierarchical data, it's so confident in telling you the answer, but it's wrong. And so I think we need to be very, very clear what the job is of different tools. LLMs are language reasoning tools. They are not empirical. They can not extrapolate. They can do some interpolation with the right rules. I see a lot of customers running off and just throwing LLMs on everything. And so even with us, we had to learn how you architect appropriate rules of your architecture to make sure that the LLM stays in its lane, so to speak.
And at Fuuz, how's it happen over there?
Yeah, similar, right? So the rules and the guidelines are governed by the platform and the building blocks, from screens to data flows to data modeling. And as long as the LLM is understanding of those rules, it does a very good job at using those constructive building blocks to build applications. And it's quick, and same thing, I wouldn't necessarily go straight into production, but it certainly eliminates a lot of the, I would call, grunt work of building the application right up front. So we too have the MCP server, so that's huge for being able to interact externally, and then over API, so we can send requests, call and response back to any model that you want as well.
Because I guess one of the biggest concerns really is that the LLMs are all probabilistic models, and machine manufacturing is inherently deterministic, right? So how in induction are you trying to get over that probabilistic deterministic curve?
I think it depends on the industry in terms of how much it matters if something goes wrong. So there's a lot of folks who are working in manufacturing that are used to problems all the time. And for those folks, they have a much higher risk tolerance when it comes to rolling this type of thing out, because Joe engineer screwed something up last week. And so,
Right.
if the LLM screws it up, next week, it's not a big deal. We'll just get in there and fix it, and we'll keep going. We have a certain expectation for a certain amount of downtime around this. We don't need to run 24/7, and so we've got a buffer. Other folks in critical infrastructure that Ignition's used in a lot of critical infrastructure, they're not going to touch it.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's really what it comes down to for our customer base, is that risk tolerance, that risk profile that they have internally.
So the last section is about digital maturity. So when you're going in to see all these customers, I think of a scale of 1 to 5, 1 like email and Excel, 5 being autonomous factories. Where would you rate most your customers, or is it industry specific? And then when they start using inductive automation, is there an epiphany moment where they realize, if I actually implemented data governance and I broke down the data silos, I could actually move that needle much further to the right?
Yeah, we found that at least for the customers that I've worked with the most, it seems like once they find inductive automation and they're using Ignition and they're interested and open to it, they're already to a stage
3.
So
Okay.
they're normally moving along. They're might have been using some legacy players that they were really interested and involved in, and they're finally opening up a little bit and saying, "Hey, we're interested in looking at the broader picture." So it's normally folks who are forward-thinking, forward-looking at that point. We do have some 4s, we do have some 5s, some folks who are just right at the
Bleeding edge
of technology. We've even had some folks come up to us and say, "Hey, we need more tools inside Ignition right now. We're going to vibe code all of our applications. Just let us do that inside Ignition, and we will use it. And otherwise, we're not interested in it," which is wild to me. So these are companies that are not. They have a high, risk tolerance. It's brand new folks, startups that are folks coming right out of school and trying to use new technology
Break
stacks
it
and all
first,
of that, right? Yeah. So I'd even put that at like a 6 or a 7, right? That's probably a bad idea. But it's really been exciting to be able to work with folks that
Absolutely.
are more progressive. Yeah.
And in your experience, Greg?
Yeah, I would say it's similar. We have a lot of the threes, and I think in the past couple of months now we're starting to see more of those traverse into the four. Not quite five yet, but certainly with the MCP capabilities just in the past year and the APIs, it's definitely helping them along that much
But
further.
does that mean you're not able to talk to the ones and twos because you said that most of them are coming to you when they're already a three?
I don't think they're already a three.
Oh,
I think
they're
it's
already
almost an immediate transition, right? You go from paper and pen to a
to
platform like
automated.
Ignition or Fuuz or Thread, and I mean, you almost leapfrog
The
step
two.
two in a lot of ways.
Is that your experience too?
Yeah, look, the experience we get is CEOs go to AI conferences, then they get full of beans. They go to the CIO and say, "You got to do something in AI," and they say, "Well, I'm in an industrial company. I could do some AI over my accounts receivable. That's not very helpful." But that OT data layer, that scares me. I don't understand it. Those grumpy controls engineers run that, and so it's not necessarily, there's a technical aspect to it, but there is a figuring out how do you do this organizationally, which is probably the biggest. And then everyone says, well, how do you coordinate a project that brings OT and IT together in AI, and how do you piece it all together? That's the slowness of bureaucratic decision making. That's probably the biggest thing getting in the way. If that didn't exist, you could move a lot faster.
Um,
All right. Well, I need to take off. Thank you so much for having me.
thank you very much.
Thanks,
That's great, Kevin.
Okay, see you later.
That was a great interview, guys. And thank you so much for coming. I think we're pretty much at the end. I don't know if you guys have any closing comments.
I don't know. It's been a great conversation and good to
Yeah,
meet our friends from across
exactly.
the world.
We're going to have a
here.
beer together now.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a couple.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully I'll find another couple of startups. And thank you, the audience, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you.
All right.